So now I would like to introduce you to Mr. Jan Roberts. Now, Jan is known as a global influencer and self-leadership strategist. He is co-founder of KI Leadership Institute, Pty Limited, and founder of JR's Speakers Club, based in South Africa and Scotland. As an international leadership keynote speaker, coach, behavioral analysis consultant, and values-based leadership specialist, he impacts many lives around the world, and I have no doubt. So, Jan Roberts, the floor is yours. And ladies and gentlemen, it's no coincidence, the surnames are the same.
Yes, that happens when you get married. Yeah, it's been an amazing story so far, and as you see, I'm married up, obviously. But yeah, no, it's just a pleasure to be here, and you know, I don't believe in coincidences. Les Brown always says coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And when we met at the Pomegranate networking, the rest was history, as they said. So here we are finally. But I also thought in 20 minutes, what could I talk about? And because we're given a free platform, which is usually fairly unusual, there was a few things that came to mind, and I will hope to address all three of them actually to one form or another. But the first thing I really want to talk about is, and it happened at the beginning of 2020, I saw all this misery beginning to develop for men and women and children. And I started listening to conversations from so many different people. And as time went on, and I'm sure each and every one of you have been involved in those conversations, and very few of them very pleasant. The negativity has risen to all-time high levels. So early last year, it's already a year ago now again, I thought, what can I do rather than add to the misery, if you like, and you will add to it if you take part in that same conversations all the time, because if you know the people around you also govern part of who you are and who you become. There is three things that govern this. The way you live the rest of your life is not only dependent, but largely dependent on the things you read, the things you hear, and the people you associate with. And some of you might have to change all three, by the way. I'm not saying discard people, but you might have to spend a little bit less time with some people who like crabs in a bucket, always want to take you back down. So I thought, well, what can I do? And I thought, I want to talk about self-care. Because if there was ever a time, the television doesn't mention it for some reason, the media doesn't mention it, but what we can all do is be more responsible for the person looking in the mirror every day. We need to ask better questions to that person rather than complain and hardly dare to look in the mirror. I would dare you to look 5 minutes in the mirror every morning, face to face, and just stare at them and look what you see. You might not like it. And some people, as one of the sayings go, are just scared, not of their darkness, but scared of their light. And we need to show our lights, because there need to be more shining lights in not only in the UK, but around the whole world. There need to be beacons all connecting with each other at a heart level, not just at the mind level, because we overthink things all the time. But how can we keep doing that if we don't start at least taking care of ourselves? Because I say to people, you're no good to anybody if you're going to be ill or dead. It's as simple as that. We might have great plans, and I can talk so much about leadership and all that kind of stuff, but I want to talk about the person, about you and me and all of us. How can we look after each other and ourselves first and foremost? You know the story in the plane. In case of oxygen pressure dropping, they give you the signs, the masks drop down from the panels above. Grab a mask and put it on your own mouth first before helping anybody else. Because even in a plane, they know if you don't do that, you might be dead and you can't help anybody else. Now, this is the same. This is your plane. You're on it. What are you going to do? Yes, there is some, you need to have a seatbelt on, because on the way up, there is some disturbance until you reach a comfortable altitude. What altitude are you on at the moment? You probably haven't even left the ground because you keep complaining. And you feel unhealthy because you just by listening to the news every day, you get negative. And even if you try to get away from it, that news draws you back every day like a magnet, and you sit there glued to it, and more cases and more negativity. It is not only cases, there is all kinds of other things, but we need to start looking after ourselves. And when we start looking after ourselves, self-care doesn't mean being selfish, by the way. And it also doesn't mean going to a spa, an expensive spa, which most of us can't afford anymore because of what's happened in the last 2 years. Yes, those can be nice to have, but it is purposefully, intentionally looking after yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Now, that's a person. There is also financially another thing, but as holistically as a person. And that is so important because, yes, if you say, well, you know, self-care, how can I look after myself better? Oh, yeah, okay, I need to eat a little bit better because I eat too much processed food, and I drink the wrong things. You know, in South Africa at the moment, so I need to say that you need to drink a couple of glasses of red wine a day, and from the Scottish side, a nip of whiskey won't go miss either. But, you know, you need to, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden need to overhaul your whole system. No, start to do something different every day, because small goals over time will make a huge difference. You know, and it is about eating a little bit better. You know, look at what you eat. Write it down for a week. Exercise, and it doesn't mean standing 2 hours on the treadmill every day. No, if you don't exercise or very little, go for a brisk walk 3 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. And there is, you know, the sleeping. Those are the 3 main parts that come to mind. But there is so much more. There is, do you take time out for yourself? We're busy doing so much stuff. People work from home, and all of a sudden they get emails till 10 o'clock at night, and they feel the need to answer them, which if they were at work, they shut the laptop at 5 o'clock, went home, and you would never hear from them again until 9 o'clock in the morning, if you were lucky and they weren't stuck in traffic, which is added to the stress they've got. No, so we need time out. We need gratitude. I would recommend you start a gratitude journal today and write in it 3 to 5 things every day that you're grateful for. And if sometimes you've got a down moment, go and look in that gratitude journal and then say, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. And, you know, just by looking in that gratitude, you can use that for that day. Be grateful that you've got a gratitude journal, because it'll pull you out of so many dark places. We need to look at that attitude. What is your attitude like? Is it positive? Or is it negative? And say, but positive people, you know, that happy clappy kind of. No, it's not about happy clappy. Yes, I am, as you can tell, I'm a highly energetic and positive person because I decide to be every single day. Everything that happens to me positive? No, I was nearly going to say a bad word, but no, certainly not. But it is how you respond or react. And I choose to respond. And the difference between responding and reacting is responding comes from the inside and reacting comes from everything around you. And we already know there is a great saying that, you know, what happens around you, what happens to you is not half as important as what happens within you. So start responding instead of reacting to everything that happens. Take care of yourself, people. Resilience is also something that you need to build. And when you build resilience over time, and that is also how you respond, and it involves your attitude. All these kind of things are important in your life. And we don't need to do all of them today, by the way, but we need to start looking at building a self-care. Like you might have heard of a personal development plan, but have a self-care plan. Put some of these things in every day, and for everyone that's different. But share that with your family. Start to maybe go for a walk together on a Saturday morning rather than stay in bed till midday and then have something to eat and then sit on the lounge watching Netflix. You know, I'm not saying that happens. But I mean, just a simple example. And then, hey, here's a good one. Common sense. As we all know, it's not that common. So we unfortunately, it's not. And the thing about common sense is, you know, let's calm down a little bit. Let's start looking at things without getting all that influence of negative waves that come to us like a tsunami every time. And some of us drown every day only to crawl into bed, and they're so tired. And then they put the news on one last time to say, oh, there's another 23,000 cases and somebody got raped in New York. And then they go to sleep. People, if that's how you go to sleep, then stop it right now. The last thing at night, you should listen to something positive, you should read something positive, or even some inspirational music, and do the same thing in the morning. Because if you do that, the last thing you do at night is something that you'll sleep on during the night. If you are miserable by the time you go to bed, you always find out that you're tired in the morning because you didn't have a good sleep. And then in the morning, let's switch the radio on. Hello, here's the news again, the constant negative news, and it's coming to you from all around the world, including your local towns. because we're going to have the local radio on for a while as well to find out how many people never made it through the night, or see what else is broken in the world. People, we know. I have no television, by the way. I haven't had a television for a long time, and I haven't bought a newspaper for more than 35 years. Of course, that started when I was 2 years old. But I mean, I haven't, and that's a choice. You know, and do you need to make that choice? No. Do you want to become a little bit more positive? Maybe. But you need to become more aware of what's possible for you to start looking after yourself. And once you've got awareness, that's when you need to make choices, because choice is a function of awareness. No, it's not about knowledge is power. And I also say knowledge acted upon is power. And if you evaluate it every night, that's even more powerful. But those are the kind of things, you know, and then on top of it off, there is so much more. I did a video series, which I can give to you. It's on a Cubimo platform where I all these Facebook lives, 44 of them I did. You can access them free, and it's got all kinds of things, mindfulness, the whole 9 yards. But one of the things I want to leave you with on this particular part, and I'm not done yet, I'm still going, human interaction and the power of the human touch. Now, I got nailed for this not so long ago, but oh, you can't hug people because they all hurt granny. I'm sorry, my friends, but this is bullshit. You know, the human touch is missing. The children of today are suffering psychological, and the damage might never be repaired of what's happened over the last 2 years. We need to start being in touch with ourselves again, and we need to start being in touch with the people around us at a human level. You know, we need to start communicating and connecting again. But we can do this together. We can sit around the table and talk about how we can put a self-care plan together so we all get better. Is that not what we all want? We don't want to hear any horror stories, certainly not in our own families or in our own friend circles, but we are scared. People are living in fear. People are fearing dying rather than starting to live again. And it's about time to stop. But that's a decision away. And should we be careful? Yes. But should we also start to live again? We've lost 2 years so far. And there's so much I can say about that, but I hope you get a little bit of an idea already about self-care. And then I want to go straight into something else, which is man development. Now there's a thing. Men are from Mars. Oh, yes. Women empowerment is absolutely wonderful. We have got Women's Month in August normally, I believe. We've got all these kind of things. And I think we shouldn't have women empowerment only in August. I think we should have women empowerment every single day. But I also believe that we need men empowerment, because men are suffering. The suicide rate, and I looked at it actually the other day again, the suicide rate between men and women is 4 to 1. I think it's 78% of the suicides are men. And that is a horrendous statistic. I'll give you another statistic if you're interested. And if not, you're going to get it anyway. An ever increasing rate of top CEOs and management are constantly on antidepressants, and that's more than 50%. Now, there is many other frightening statistics, but I won't bore you with them. But there is something else here. Yes, of course, we need female empowerment. Yes, we need to see many more women in top levels of management and in all kinds of organizations. But yes, we also need, our men are actually suffering and are actually desperately needing development too. Men need to grow too. I said to somebody not so long ago, it says, over the last 2 years, did you just go through life or did you grow through life? And if you just went through life for the last 2 years, you've actually wasted 2 years. In the last 2 years, you could have learned a new skill, a new hobby, and anything. In 2 years, you can learn a lot. But if you only sit complaining, then you've just gone through life and wasted 2 years of your life. Don't make that mistake from now on. You're here. Let's grow through life from now on. But men need development too. We need to have more courageous conversations among men where they can be vulnerable and respected for that in circles. But also we need to have those between men and women and how we can build, encourage and empower each other while collaborating in life and business for each other's success. Because Arti started a movement a long time ago, ladies and gentlemen, unite for success. So I hope that we really start to take care of ourselves, and we really also start to understand that men also need development. Men are struggling. The struggle is real, as they say, but men are struggling in this time. Men have always struggled as well, but it is the stiff upper lip, and grown men don't cry. Oh yes, they do. Real men do. But I mean, it's so difficult because the stigma that will be attached to so many of these things. So we bottle it up, and the stresses are basically killing us. Les Brown said it was the human species are the only species in the world that have got a specific disease that increases at a specific time of the week. On Monday morning, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, there is a 30% increase, a 38% increase in heart attack, strokes, and death. Some of you are actually dying to go to work on a Monday morning and should stay at home. Now that is a startling statistic, but think about it, and if what we could do about it if we looked after ourselves, what we could do about it if we actually provided some empowerment for men too, as well as women, of course. And I think there is also one more item I've got a few minutes to talk into, and that is a passion of mine as well, and it is values-based living. If we look around over the last 2 years and see what we haven't been doing, what we've seen disgracefully so, is a lack of leadership, and leadership has always been failing around the world because of a lack of values. Now, when people can go, and maybe some of you are sitting there going, yeah, that's true, but then they're not going to say to you, what about the thought that everybody is a leader, including the person looking in the mirror every morning? What does your value system look like? Yes, leadership is failing, but we're not talking about the huge, fantastic values. We're talking about basic human values such as integrity, honesty, transparency, forgiveness, listening, respect, as Artie already mentioned, hope, and so much more. See, Napoleon Bonaparte said many years ago, of course, that little French person, he said that leaders are sellers of hope. Now, if we're all leaders, what are you selling? Many of us are selling misery even. I'll shorten it, every single day of the week. And then we wonder why people around us are so miserable and why we feel so miserable all the time. Be that change. That's what I'm talking into. But what do you value? See, that is not a question you can probably maybe answer in the next two minutes. See, what is important to you that you would never compromise on? So, what are we doing watching all those injustices in the world that are not here for the last 2 years, but have been there for the long time? The hunger and poverty, the 250 million more people are driven into extreme poverty just now. Where are our values? See, I'm a values-based leadership specialist, and we've got a program that changes entire countries. But how Artie got introduced as well, where we work with Lebanon, we work with Bangladesh, we work with Pakistan, we work with Guatemala, Paraguay, Ireland, and we're now working with South Africa. Now, that's not to impress you, but that's impress upon you that we need to go back to a basic foundation of values from the child upwards. We don't need to give them anything else but basic human values. And it's not teaching values, it's becoming, I call it a reawakening of the awareness of values. See, people, when we can build our foundations of life and business and our emotional and social environment on basic human values, life will change. And I promise everybody who gets involved in something like this, that life will change forever for anybody and everybody who decides to get involved in getting back to the table on basic human values. We need to start having basic conversations again. We need to start having conversations about hope. We need to start having conversations about how we can listen better to each other. We need to start connecting. We need to start, working together. I say it's called the roundtable process, and it says there is always a seat around my table if you want to become part of something bigger than yourself. And I'm talking into significance. And if you want significance, if you want a seat around the table, then you should connect with us as well, because I can guarantee you, your life, like mine, and it's changing every day, your life will never be the same. And I want the best for you. I want to wish you health. Start looking after yourself. Look after, if you're a female, look after your spouse, your husband, even if you have a little tiff with them about the cat. But also, if you're a male, look after your partners as well. Let's look after ourselves first and show the world that we can become better people. We can become better. We need to go from the mind to the heart. And when we touch the heart and the soul, everything will change for everyone around you. And this is my wish for you. Be that change. Thank you.